And I think the last piece of iron that I need to clean up is this roller iron that is operated by the foot of the driver. I'll take the last of the little piece of the wood apart from this, run it through the sandblaster as well. These have two bars that actually go back to the brake bar. Now, this is one of those cases where somebody that says always and never, that there's never hex nuts or hex bolts on these old stagecoaches or any horse-drawn vehicle. Here's a case that there is an original hex bolt that holds these bars that go back to the brake bar, and we see them on both sides. Now this is tapped and threaded into one side. You can see it coming out here. And I've been trying to put some penetrating oil on there to see if I can get it to break loose. But so far it doesn't want to give. So I think I'm going to have to get my torch out and heat this up and try to break that loose. It just doesn't want to give. Well, I'll let that cool down and see if I can burn that rust out. So when I get these cleaned up, I always marvel at the quality of the blacksmithing. It makes me wonder just how did they do it. So it's got kind of a double bend. This has to bend up around the thorough braces. And if I line that bend up in line with the main bar, it's about like so. You can see the angle there, it lines out right about there. Well, these bars that come down and push on the push rods to the rear brake bar, they're off. And you can see this handle iron that comes up for the driver's leg, just how these angles have to be correct. I got that all figured out. But this is an 1.5 inch bar, and these are forge welded onto that 1.5 inch bar. And it looks like maybe it's a solid piece here. You know, that's strong 1.5 inch. So was this an 1.5 inch bar also shaped down? And it also almost looks like it was split and then forge welded onto this bar here. And this 1.5 inch bar is still 1.5 inch to here. But when it comes down to where it turns into this square taper, they've got it down to 1.25 inches and drawn out to square corners, and then has this gradual taper down to this box iron here. And there's a remnant of a forge weld there that holds the brake bar that goes up to the driver's foot. And that has to be welded in there as well. Just interesting ironwork. And then one block that holds it on the right side is full width of the iron here. You can tell there's a little bit of wear here. But then on the left side it's been turned down to, about 1 inch. And that pillow block has to keep it from sliding right to left. So that had been turned down on a lathe, I would speculate. This clip was drawn out and swaged into a bolt, just like the other clips on the rear axle. And these look kind of straightforward. Started out with about a 5/8 by maybe 1.5 inches and draw all this out. Tap and thread that. So this will just all give me an indication of how I've got to build this on my 11 passenger, because I think this assembly is missing as well. Well, that should be the last of our iron work to clean up. I'll make a new axle cap. Start putting this back axle on the reaches. When I took these two main clips off, I was pretty hard on them trying to get them out. So I had mushroomed the threads over on the ends. So I did take and I ground that mushroom off. Now I need to clean the threads up. I thought I was just going to cut these off and put 5/8 bolts on them, but they're actually 9/16. So I'm going to try to save these and use the original nuts as well. I've got these Greenfield Tappan dies. Yes, an old set. I've shown this to you before. But these jaws are adjustable with these little screws here on the end. You can move these jaws in and out. So I've got them opened up all the way. I think I can get them started on the threads, although they'll be really loose. I'm going to try to run them down past this mushroom, get them down into this area here, then I'll tighten them up and try to back it back out and see if I can get these threads to match up. Hopefully salvage these as much as I can. So they kind of mushroomed on one side. I'm hoping they'll catch on the other side. I think they will. They're pretty sloppy, but this is where it's nice that they're adjustable. You know, the old threads weren't cut on a standard thread like we have today. And with these being so close to each other, I can't get the handle on here, so I'm going to have to try to do this by hand. Just kind of do it bit by bit, I think. Kind of cutting threads backwards. And we're getting much more snug there. I bet we're pretty close. That's gonna work. Well, that's good. I can salvage these old original bolts and nuts on these clips. That'll work. So this gives me the main heavy clips that go on each outside reach that holds the axle to the whole undercarriage assembly. And these end box clips, they go on each end like so. Well, before I stick this all together, you know, I took a light back here to see what my space was between my axle cap and my axle. And it never comes out 100%. I could spend a lot of time trying to get this down perfect, but I would just as soon take and bed this in, and I can do that without actually adhering it to the axle itself. So, just going to take some packaging tape, cover up this axle. And I'm going to take a 2-part filler, just add a hardener to it, add it to the bottom of this axle cap, and then clamp it into place, and it'll actually form and give me 100% contact without actually adhering it to the axle yet. So I'm going to use just an all-purpose 2-part filler, auto body filler, general purpose putty. And the reason I like this is because it has an activator to it and it hardens up fairly quickly. In the old days, they would have used what is called rough stuff, to the best of my knowledge. Maybe I'll do half at a time. But anyway, rough stuff was a lead-based body filler that they used before priming to fill all the imperfections in wood grain. Well, key word being lead base. Of course, I don't use that anymore today. I have used Titebond 3 by itself. I've used Titebond 3 with sawdust. But Titebond just as a glue takes more time to dry. This speeds things up. And I like that. So I have taken the high spots off with my file. So I just want to take the small imperfections and kind of fill that in. The big thing is just so I have contact all the way through. Looks like I might need my other little portion here. Better work relatively quick because this has an activating time to it. I want enough extra on here that it'll just ooze out and fill any of those open voids. While that's setting up, there's a little block extension that needs to be put on this little flat spot that I made. This is where these saddles go. And they're actually notched out so they round over this corner here. These corners have been broken off. But I need to make these little blocks as well. This one is broken, but you can kind of see the rounded corner here a little better, where this saddle will come in about like so, and it'll round up so it's flush with the top of the saddle here. So short of these blocks, I still have to make these end caps for the dust shields. You know, these Greenfield tap and dies, I've run across them primarily at farm sales. And I don't know if many of you have these, and I don't know if they make them still today. I've looked online for Greenfield and they aren't adjustable anymore. But when I'm trying to match old threads like I did on these clips, I don't know how else I would do it without adjustable dies that I could kind of fine tune. Anyway, it helped me salvage these. Good start on the rear axle. We'll continue after it. Appreciate coming along. Thanks for watching.